Good evening, and welcome back to another day for Daily Bible Kids. What are you laughing about? Get me going. Okay. So, anyways, today we're doing Genesis chapters 36, 37, 38. The reason we're doing 3 is because 36, we're going to kind of cut that short. And you'll understand why here in a little bit. We left off with the death of Rachel and Isaac. And now on 36, this is the account of the descendants of Esau, also known as Edom. Esau married 2 young women of Canaan, and then the whole thing goes to a whole family tree up until it's basically the whole chapter is that this person had this kid, this person had this kid. It goes all the way through. And it goes through the original peoples of Edom, the rulers of Edom. And again, it's this person had this kid. And it's the whole family tree. And there's a bunch of names that I'm not going to butcher. That if you really want to see all of this, again, it's Genesis chapter 36. And you can check out all of these names. Okay? We're going to go ahead and skip on to chapter 37. You look like you had a question there?
Anything? Yeah, it didn't really pertain to the chapter we're reading. It was like more that I should have asked in the beginning.
Well, what's up? Should be off the table.
Because I was thinking about how he only talks about Adam's family in the beginning, and then how Cain goes off, how he has to get exiled, and he's talking about this town, how the people will kill him, but how come the Bible doesn't ever say that God made other towns after he exiled Adam and Eve?
It does. It does mention about other towns, but a lot of the time with the whole Bible, there we're focusing in on the certain lineage that will lead up to Christ, and it's through God's chosen people. From the very beginning, from the lineage of Adam and Eve. Yes, they went on, but there's not like a separate book that goes on to like his story and all that stuff. We're focusing on the main characters of God's story. Okay. Chapter 37. What?
It's not really a question, but this keeps on bothering me.
Put your legs down, please. Sit down. Come on. All right. So Jacob settled again in the land of Canaan, where his father had lived as a foreigner. This is the account of Jacob and his family. When Joseph was 17 years old, he often tended his father's flock. He worked for his half-brothers, the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. Jacob loved Joseph more than any other children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a kind word to him. Can you please put your water bottle on the table? It's very distracting. Thank you so much. They couldn't say a kind word to him. One night, Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. "Listen to this dream," he said. "We were out in the field, tending up bundles of grain. Suddenly, my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before mine." His brothers responded, "So you think you'll be our king, do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about them. Soon, Joseph had another dream, and again he told his brothers about it. "Listen, I've had another dream," he said. "The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me." This time he told the dream to his father as well as to his brothers, but his father scolded him. "What kind of dream is that?" he asked. "Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you?" But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what the dream meant. Soon after this, Joseph's brothers went to the pasture their father's flocks at Shechem. When they had gone before some time, Jacob said to Joseph, "Your brothers are pasturing the sheep at Shechem. Get ready, and I will send you to them." "I am ready to go," Joseph replied. "Go and see your brothers, and the flocks are getting along," Jacob said. "Then come back and bring me a report." So Jacob sent him on his way, and Joseph traveled to Shechem from their home in the valley of Hebron. When he arrived there, a man from the area noticed him wandering around the countryside. "What are you looking for?" he asked. "I'm looking for my brothers," Joseph replied. "Do you know where they're pasturing their sheep?" "Yes," the man told him. "They have moved on from here, but I heard them say, 'Let's go on to Dothan.'" So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan and found them there. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. As he approached, they made plans to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they said. "Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father a wild animal has eaten him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." But when Reuben heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. "Let's not kill him," he said. "Why should we shed any blood? Let's just throw him into this empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our laying a hand on him." Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off the beautiful robe he was wearing. Then they grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty, and there was no water in it. Then, just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming towards them. It was a group of Ishmaelites, traders taking a load of gum, balm, aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain by killing our brother? We'd have to cover up the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ishmaelites, those traders. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." And his brothers agreed. So when the Ishmaelites, who were Midianite traders, come by, Joseph's brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver, and the traders took him to Egypt. Some time later, Reuben returned to get Joseph out of the cistern. When he discovered that Joseph was missing, he tore his clothes in grief. Then he went back to his brothers and lamented, "The boy's gone! What will I do now?" Then the brothers killed a young goat and dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. They sent the beautiful robe to their father with this message: "Look at what we found! Don't this robe belong to your son?" Their father recognized it immediately. "Yes," he said, "it is my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him. Joseph has clearly been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes and dressed him in a burlap. He mourned deeply for his son for a long time. His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. I will go to my grave mourning for my son," he would say, and then he would weep. Meanwhile, the Midianite traders arrived in Egypt, where they sold Joseph to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Potiphar was captain of the palace guard. Any questions? Chapter 38. About this time, Judah left home and moved to Adullam, where they stayed with a man named Hera. There he saw a Canaanite woman, the daughter of Shua, and he married her. When he slept with her, she became pregnant and gave birth to a son, and he named the boy Er. Then she became pregnant again and gave birth to another son, and she named him Onan. And when she gave birth to a third son, she named him Shelah. At the time of Shelah's birth, they were living at Kezib. In the course of time, Judah arranged for his firstborn son to marry a young woman named Tamar. But was a wicked man in the Lord's sight, so the Lord took his life. Then Judah said to brother Onan, "Go and marry Tamar. As our law requires of the brother of a man who has died, you must produce an heir for your brother." But Onan was not willing to have a child who would not be his own heir. So whenever he had intercourse with his brother's wife, he didn't on purpose did not get her pregnant. This prevented them from having a child who would belong to his brother, but the Lord considered it evil for Onan to deny a child to his dead brother, so the Lord took Onan's life too. So basically did not do what God wanted him to do. Okay? And then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Go back to your parents' home and remain a widow until my son Shelah is old enough to marry you." Please stop. But Judah didn't really intend to do this because he was afraid Shelah would also die, like his two brothers. So Tamar went back to live in her father's home. Some years later, Judah's wife died, but the time of mourning was over. Judah and his friend Hira, the Adullamite, went up to Tamar to supervise the shearing of his sheep. Someone told Tamar, "Look, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear sheep." Tamar was aware Shelah had grown up, but no arrangements had been made for her to come and marry him. So she changed out of her widow's clothing and covered herself with a veil to disguise herself. Then she sat beside the road at the entrance to the village of Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah. Judah noticed her and thought she was a prostitute since she had covered her face. So she stopped and propositioned her. "Let me have sex with you," he said, not realizing that she was his own daughter-in-law. "How much will you pay to have sex with me?" Tamar asked. "I will send a young goat from my flock," Judah promised. But will you give me to guarantee that you will send the goat?" she asked. "What kind of guarantee do you want?" he replied. She answered, "Leave me your identification seal and its cord and the walking stick you are carrying." So Judah gave them to her. Then he had intercourse with her and she became pregnant. Afterwards she went back home, took off her veil, and put on her widow's clothing as usual. Later Judah asked his friend Hira the Adullamite to take the young goat to the woman and to pick up the things he had given her as his guarantee. But Hira couldn't find her. So he asked the men who lived there, "Where can I find the shrine prostitute who was sitting beside the road at the entrance to Enaim?" "We've never had a shrine prostitute here," they replied. So Hira returned to Judah and told him, "I couldn't find her anywhere, and the men of the village claim they've never had a shrine prostitute here." "Then let her keep the things I gave her," Judah said. "I sent the young goat as we agreed, but you couldn't find her. We'd be the laughing stock of the village if we went back again to look for her." About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has acted like a prostitute, and now, because of this, she's pregnant." "Bring her out and let her be burned," Judah demanded. But as they were taking her out to kill her, she sent this message to her father-in-law: "The man who owns these things made me pregnant. Look closely. Whose seal and cord and walking stick are these?" Judah recognized them immediately and said, "She is more righteous than I am, because I didn't arrange for her to marry my son Shelah." And Judah never slept with Tamar again. When the time came for Tamar to give birth, it was discovered that she was carrying twins. While she was in labor, one of the babies reached out his hand. The midwife grabbed it and tied a scarlet string around the child's wrist, announcing it. "This one came out first." But then he pulled back his hand and came out his brother. "Wait," the midwife exclaimed. "How did you break out first?" So he was named Perez. Then the baby, which Perez means breaking out. Then the baby with the scarlet string on his wrist was born, and he was named Zerah, which means scarlet or brightness. And that is the end of our reading for today. Any questions on that? All right. Tomorrow, we are going to dive more into Joseph. All right. You guys have a wonderful night, and God bless.